I'm always struck by the concentration of diversity in this beautiful, pristine bay. I'm Art Wolf. Join me on this journey to the edge. I've been coming to Glacier Bay for a long time, and every time I come back here, I discover something new. The Ice Age really had a profound effect on this region of Southeast Alaska. All the great islands run north and south. All the channels largely are running north and south. Glacier Bay, only 200 years ago, had 4,000 feet of ice, and today there's just remnant glaciers. I'm being joined by Greg Green, a wildlife biologist who has extensive knowledge in the marine ecosystems of Southeast Alaska. What I love is just the richness of this environment that we're traveling through. Not only do you have the spectacular glaciated mountains, the really intact forests, but you got all the animals that thrive in these wild waters. Right now we've got 2 whales and they're still up, and in a second or two it's going to be a nice shot because the spray will come straight up. And any second now, when do they start heading south and where are they going?
These whales winter in Hawaii and they don't feed there. That's where they go to breed. That's where they go to have calves. And then they come back here to feed, to forage in this rich waters.
What's the status of the humpback whale? Are they endangered?
Well, they're still classified as an endangered animal and under the Endangered Species Act, but the populations here are definitely increasing. Humpback whales are coming back in the North Pacific.
It's an animal that you only get glimpses of part of their body until they actually breach. They usually breach when they come back to the surface. And usually when they get in the rhythm, they come to the surface 3 or 4 times, but that first time they come back up after sounding or diving, they come up with such force. This is a great place. There's so much action right here. The water is very turbulent and it mixes up the fish, the herring, the krill. Consequently, we got cormorants, gulls, eagles, sea lions, all vying for the same food. Really great for the heart and for the mind to see an environment that is largely intact. The forests are all the way from the top of the ridges all the way to the water line. No clear cuts, no roads, no buildings along the shore. This is a beautiful forest with the Sitka spruce and hemlock. How old would you think these trees are?
Well, we know. This is forest began about 200 years ago when Captain Vancouver was here and the glacier just receded past.
Wow, that's amazing. In 200 years, this whole forest was established. How is this forest actually being affected by global warming?
Well, one of the things that we are seeing is the decline of Alaskan yellow cedar, and that seems to be as a result of decline in snowfall levels.
So what's taking the place of yellow cedar?
Well, at this stage, nothing. We're waiting to see how global change and climates are going to affect all of Southeast Alaska.
Nothing stays the same?
Nothing at all.
I love working in the rainforest, and if it's raining, I just adjust to it. And the subjects here are many and varied. There's some beautiful lines, abstract details. This becomes now my subject. Right
Right now I'm zeroing in on just a few raindrops in the circular patterns that are really spiraling out. It becomes a really nice pattern, really nice study of light and dark. I've got a really nice shot here of fungus and dripping moss, and it's a great change from shooting the grand landscapes of glaciers and mountains to come into this forest. It's a calming effect on the mind. It's such a soft environment, such a quiet environment, and now I'm shooting a very quiet, soft subject. This is Dundas Bay. It's part of the national park, and it's a great habitat for black bears that come out of the forest in hibernation in the spring. They eat this very succulent grass. This is the sign of a bear. Okay, the tops of this grass is all cut off from where it's eaten, and it's really pressed the grass as he's walked up this creek. And the fact that the grass is still pretty much bent means he's come through in the last day, maybe in the last couple hours. This is a pretty fresh bear track here. He drew a line from one toe across here. If the toe is below this line, it's a black bear. If it's above, it's a grizzly. And just the sheer size of this, if this was a grizzly bear track, it'd be a pretty young bear. But this is a medium-sized black bear. There's a bear not too far away from here. It's taken one look at us, and it's cut across what I think is these alders, and it might come right out over here. So if I can anticipate the direction it's moving, we might be able to get a good shot. So let's walk over here. It's just cut through these bushes. There it is, right there. Stop. It doesn't really have great eyesight, but it sees us and is wondering what we are. These bears now are sharing their environment with the brown bear or the grizzly. So they're much more apprehensive about other shapes walking around. We're gonna move. I think he might come out one last time at right where this little creek comes out of the forest. It might be a good shot. This is a nice situation because this bear is nice and relaxed. We're getting our shots, we've moved slow, and every time it stopped, we stopped. And consequently, we've been able to get up close without really pressuring the bear. So now the bear is relaxed, eating grass. I'm getting my shots. One of the iconic animals here in Southeast Alaska are the orcas. They're very hard to predict, and often you never see them. What we try to do with these orcas is discern the direction they're heading, then go way ahead, and then the choice is for the orca to either come towards us or give us a wide berth. And often they come right next to us as long as we're not chasing them. With the orcas, unlike the humpbacks, they get into a rhythm and they stay on the surface. They're a much smaller animal and they're not as capable as the humpback to stay underneath the surface. So we have a higher likelihood of predicting the distance and the direction that these orcas are going. They're only above the surface for a split second, and I don't want to miss that. And I didn't. As we entered Glacier Bay, it's really interesting to see how the glaciers have carved and shaped the land. Not only the fjords, lot going on right now. Here's a whole colony of kittiwakes flying in front of the cliffs. Saw a peregrine falcon earlier, and we've got a mountain goat with a very young kid and a cevidoe, all right on the same cliff right in front of us. I think what happens is that these cliffs really absorb a lot of the heat from the sun, and consequently the snow melts off really soon in the season and exposes the sedges and the lichens that they really love to eat. Very chilled out. That's what's nice about photographing these mountain goats, is very relaxed, really a nice looking animal looking straight at us right now. You can see how that powerful hump on the back is really the center for the muscles that enable it to go straight up and down. This is a nice opportunity with a mother and two cubs. The babies are so cute. And the very fact that we're drifting up so slowly, the mother's curious. She's watching us. She's eating barnacles right off the rock. Bears are such omnivores. They'll eat the barnacles, they'll eat grass, they'll eat salmon, berries. It's great to hear the baby cry. Almost like a human baby right now. They are so young. They haven't been out of the den very long. She's a great looking mother. Oh, nice moment. The babies are just touching nose with mother. Oh, that's as good as it gets right there. We're easing up onto this colony of northern sea lions on the north side of this island. These sea lions have found just the perfect slope of rock where they can easily carry themselves up out of the water and relax and rest. This is known as a rookery. I'm going to try to get an establishing shot of the colony, and then I'll be looking slowly across the colony for individuals that might be interacting, a male and a female, or even two males that be fighting over a female. Each male basically can stand each other when they're 15 or 20, 30 feet apart. They get too close to each other, they start to still each other's females, and they start fighting. This is the perfect light conditions for photographing these guys. If it was even brighter or overcast, their big bulky bodies would cast shadows over other animals. But with this even light, it really allows us to make sense of the entire colony of northern sea lions.
As we head further up the bay towards the glaciers, the terrain gets rockier and the water becomes much colder. The glaciers that feed fresh water into Glacier Bay are retreating at an amazing rate. It's a natural process, but it's being accelerated by global warming. I love this environment. It's just like kayaking through a huge watercolor painting to me. It's hard to fathom that this entire fjord was carved out by huge glaciers, much, much larger than these tiny little guys now, these tidewater glaciers. 200 years ago, how deep do you think the ice was right where we are?
Probably somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 feet thick.
Can you imagine in 200 years that 4,000 feet of ice has melted? That's extraordinary. You know, it's amazing that this landscape is in such rapid transition.
This snow has been locked up in this ice for hundreds of years, and now it's about to calve into this fjord, melt and once again join the water cycle. It's really interesting also to see how the oldest ice is the clearest ice, and it's on the bottom layer of a glacier. And it's really compressed hard and clear, almost like the way diamonds are formed.
Look at that wall over here that looks just like a wall of jade. It's so beautiful. I'm so privileged to be able to come into an environment like this and see things that most people don't have an opportunity to see. Just this out-of-worldly location is extraordinary.
The ice that's got locked up in this glacier may have fallen in the form of snow hundreds of years ago, and now at the terminus, it's calving off and ultimately melting out. And it's overwhelming when you think of the scale of the human in relationship to a wall of ice that may be 300 or 400 feet high. I love photographing this environment because it's so abstract with the colors, the lines, the textures of this great glacier. It's a frightening environment, it's a dynamic environment. Ultimately, it's a fascinating environment for the camera and for my imagination. The deep blues of the light passing through the ice crystals really translate well on film. I love shooting landscapes where the sense of scale is obscured. You really rely on the abstract. As my eye adjusts to this dynamic landscape, I find more and more shots to shoot. And right now, I'm concentrating on just the reflections of these very circular icebergs with their very subtle gradients of white all the way to deep blue. Right now, I'm making this tiny little iceberg really dominant in the frame, and then the reflections of the icebergs across the water really is a nice soft backdrop. So foreground, background, very surreal landscape. It's all coming together. And just verifying in the back of my camera, and I can see that I'm getting exactly what I want. The glaciers are still active today, and it's among the most exciting things that I've ever seen anywhere on Earth. To see a glacier calve into these deep blue waters is a really thrilling sight.